Wait!
The movie opens with 13-year-old Becky sitting in a police interrogation room. The officer asks her what happened in the woods that night, but Becky claims she doesn't remember. We're then taken back 2 weeks before the interrogation. Becky's father shows up early at her school to pick her up. He tells her he's taking her somewhere special for the weekend. Meanwhile, across town, 5 inmates are being transported to another facility. 4 of them are part of a gang led by a ruthless neo-Nazi named Dominic. His crew includes Apex, Cole, and Hammond. During the ride, Dominic and his men exchange silent signals. And suddenly, Apex strangles the 5th inmate, the only one not part of their group. When the man passes out, Dominic tells the driver something's wrong, forcing him to stop the truck. At that same time, Becky and her dad pull up to a gas station. Inside, they overhear a news report about 4 inmates who've just escaped from a prison transfer vehicle. Becky barely pays attention. She's too busy sneaking some gummy worms into her pocket. As she wanders the store, she notices a happy family wearing matching shirts. The sight hits her hard, reminding her of her late mother, who passed away from cancer just a year ago. Back on the road, Becky grows angry when she realizes they're heading to the family's old lake house, a place full of memories of her mom. Her father had planned to sell it after her death, and Becky hasn't forgiven him for it. But to her surprise, he tells her he's changed his mind. He's keeping the house. Becky's mood instantly lifts as she runs to hug her dog, Diego. Her happiness doesn't last long. Another car pulls into the driveway. It's her dad's new girlfriend, Kayla, and her young son, Ty. They greet Becky warmly, but she stays cold and distant. Even their dog, Dora, gets a warmer welcome than they do. To ease the tension, Becky's dad asks her to go fetch Diego. Meanwhile, Dominic and his crew, now dressed as police officers, pull over an unsuspecting driver. When the man steps out, Dominic brutally smashes his skull in with a blunt object, while the man's terrified children watch from the car. Back at the lake house, dinner is awkward. Becky sits in silence, refusing to speak to anyone. Her father finally tries to open up, telling her it's time to move forward after a difficult year. Then he drops a bombshell. He and Kayla are getting married. Becky snaps. She storms out of the house, runs into the woods, and takes refuge in her old playhouse with Diego by her side. In a fit of anger, she starts wrecking everything inside until she stops to look at a painting her mother made. The memories overwhelm her, and she recalls the last time she sang to her mother at the hospital. Back at the lake house, Kayla is clearing the table when the doorbell rings. She answers it and finds a man standing there. It's Dominic. He claims he's looking for his lost dog. In the woods, Becky discovers a strange old key inside her childhood locker. She doesn't know what it opens, but it feels important, so she pockets it. Back inside the house, Dominic notices Dora the dog and makes a disgusting comment about mixed breeds, saying they're weak because they've lost their predatory instincts. Becky's father clearly doesn't like where this is going, so he politely asks Dominic to leave. But suddenly, Apex appears behind him and puts him in a chokehold. Under Dominic's orders, Apex goes after Kayla, who's hiding in the bedroom. He destroys her phone to keep her from calling for help, but he hesitates to hurt her. Instead, he tells her to run into the woods, and she does, with Dora following close behind. At the same moment, Becky overhears voices coming from the woods. 2 men talking quietly. She hides and watches closely. It's Cole and Hammond, 2 of Dominic's men. They're armed and searching the area until they stumble upon Kayla and Ty. Suspicious, they ask what the 2 are doing out there. Naively, Ty says they're looking for Becky. Thinking fast, Kayla lies, saying Becky is actually the name of their dog. But when Cole spots the real dog, Dora, trailing behind them, he coldly raises his gun and shoots her, just because he doesn't like dogs. From her hiding spot, Becky watches in horror. Then, her fear turns into fury. Determined to do something, she leaves Diego behind in the playhouse and sneaks back toward the lake house. Inside, she carefully peeks through a window and sees her father, Kayla, and Ty being held hostage in the living room. One of the thugs reports that they've killed the family's dog named Becky. Realizing their mistake, Dominic smirks and says he's just here to get what he came for, and once he has it, they'll be on their way. But Kayla doesn't buy it. She knows men like them won't leave any witnesses alive. Dominic heads down to the basement and starts searching through old boxes until he finds a small tin container. When he opens it and finds it empty, his calm demeanor fades. He's furious. Upstairs, Becky climbs through her bedroom window, but the ladder from the basement leads directly into her room, and Dominic is already on his way up. Heart pounding, Becky grabs her walkie-talkie and hides silently beneath the window as Dominic looks around suspiciously. He finds Becky's backpack and takes it to the living room, showing it to her father. That's when he realizes the truth. Becky isn't the name of their dog. It's the name of their daughter. Dominic demands to know where she is. He explains he's looking for a key marked with a strange symbol. None of them seem to know what he's talking about, which only makes him angrier. Becky's father tries to lie, saying Becky's with her mother in Atlanta. But Dominic finds her phone in the backpack and doesn't believe a word. He pulls out his gun. When the father refuses to talk, Dominic shoots Kayla in the leg without hesitation. Hearing her scream through the walls, Becky can't stay quiet. She grabs the walkie-talkie and pretends she's already escaped to a neighbor's house, saying she's called the police. The lie rattles the gang, but Dominic knows better. He says there's no way a kid's walkie-talkie could reach that far, which means Becky's still somewhere nearby. He drags Becky's father outside for what he calls a little talk. Through the walkie-talkie, Dominic threatens Becky directly, saying if she doesn't hand over what was inside the tin box, her father will pay for it. Terrified, Becky blurts out that she doesn't have a key, even though Dominic never mentioned a key in the first place. That slip-up tells him everything he needs to know. To prove he's serious, Dominic presses a red-hot fire poker against her father's cheek while Becky listens helplessly through the walkie-talkie. When he lets Jeff speak, he expects him to beg Becky to surrender. Instead, the father tells her, "Run, Becky, run as far as you can." Enraged, Dominic stabs him in the stomach with the poker, and Becky finally breaks. She rushes back to her playhouse to get the key, but before she can return, her father manages to free himself and stumble into the woods, bleeding but alive. Becky spots him. They lock eyes for a brief moment. He tells her he loves her. And then a gunshot. Dominic appears behind him and shoots him dead right in front of her. Overcome with rage, Becky charges at Dominic and drives the key straight into his eye. Screaming in pain, he collapses as Becky flees into the woods. Dominic staggers back to the house, his eyeball hanging out of its socket. Calmly, he orders Hammond to cut it off, but the scissors are too dull. Frustrated, Dominic grabs a knife and slices the eye out himself, gritting his teeth through the pain. Then, without missing a beat, he orders his men to spread out and find Becky. Later, Becky sits by the lake, trembling, her mind spiraling from shock and grief. Suddenly, Cole's voice crackles through her walkie-talkie. He taunts her, getting closer with every word. Realizing he's near, Becky bolts into the woods, determined to survive. Becky rushes back to her playhouse, where her dog Diego is waiting. Moments later, Cole appears outside. He hesitates to enter when he spots Diego growling inside, terrified of dogs and, thankfully, unarmed. Trying to sound calm, Cole tells Becky to hand over the key. He promises that if she gives it to him, no one else will get hurt. Not her, not her stepmom, not her little brother. But the mention of her stepmom triggers Becky's anger and grief over her late mother. That pain fuels her resolve. She's not backing down. Determined to fight, Becky grabs a broken ruler, turns it into a weapon, and climbs out through the top of the playhouse. She tosses a coin into the woods to lure Cole away, and the moment he turns to look, she swings down on a zip line she built herself and stabs him straight in the neck with the broken ruler. She keeps going, stabbing him over and over in a frenzied rage until Cole collapses. Becky, once a scared kid, now looks like a completely different person, a small, bloodied, unstoppable force. Meanwhile, inside the house, Apex checks the makeshift bandage on Kayla's leg. Seeing a flicker of kindness in him, Kayla pleads with Apex to help them escape, reminding him that he's not like the others, that there's still good in him. Before she can say more, Dominic calls him over. Dominic coldly hands Apex a gun and orders him to aim it at his chest. He reminds Apex that they spent 9 years in prison together, and he's not about to let him ruin the plan now. Either Apex stays loyal, or he dies. With guilt in his eyes, Apex swears his allegiance. At that same time, Becky sneaks back toward the house and drops one of her walkie-talkies on the porch. When Dominic picks it up, her voice comes through, cold and steady. She warns him that she's capable of doing very bad things. The threat makes even Dominic pause for a second. He then forces Kayla to try and talk Becky into surrendering, but Kayla admits there's too much resentment between them. Nothing, she says, will bring Becky back. So Dominic sends Hammond and Apex out to hunt her down. By the lake, Becky prepares a brutal trap. When Hammond finally finds Cole's mutilated corpse, he panics. And that's when Becky strikes. She taunts him through the walkie-talkie, luring him toward the dock. As Hammond steps forward, he trips a fishing line that triggers a board full of nails, piercing him in the stomach. Screaming in pain, he stumbles as Becky smashes him with another spiked plank. He fights back, but misses, and Becky jumps on his back, pushing him into the lake. He shouts that he can't swim. Becky doesn't care. She starts up the motorboat and drives it straight at him, letting the spinning propeller shred him to pieces. When she gets back to shore, she's met by Apex, the biggest and most dangerous of them all. Diego lunges to protect her, but Apex knocks the dog aside like it's nothing. Furious, Becky runs to Diego's side, thinking he's dead. Apex grabs her, lifting her clean off the ground, and slams her down in a chokehold. But then something changes. He can't do it. Apex looks down at Becky and tells her that killing leaves a stain on your soul, that it's not too late for her to turn back. Then, without another word, he lets her go and walks away, abandoning Dominic for good. Diego slowly stirs, alive after all. Night falls. Becky finds her father's body by the lake. She kneels beside him, tears streaming down her face, apologizing softly before taking his car keys. With her heart shattered, she heads back to the house. Through the glass, she signals Kayla and Ty that she's coming to help, but Dominic storms in before she can reach them. To distract him, Kayla calls out, demanding to know why he's doing all this. Dominic explains he's a white supremacist, and the mysterious key will help purify his cause. Kayla stares at him in disgust, calling him insane. Enraged, he attacks her, but stops when he hears a car alarm blaring outside. Thinking Apex has returned, Dominic steps out to check. He struggles with Diego in the driveway, then slams the car door shut and pulls out his gun. He's sure Becky's inside. He fires, but she isn't there. Becky's in the other car. She slams her foot on the gas and rams straight into him, sending him flying. The crash triggers the smart car's emergency system, automatically calling 911. Still dazed, Becky crawls out and grabs a can of gasoline from the garage. She walks toward the fire pit, where Dominic is limping toward her. Calmly, she starts singing. The sound draws him in. He finds her sitting by the flames, waiting for him. Instead of attacking, he grins, almost proud. He tells her she's ruthless, clever, and strong, that she could be part of his new world. He even offers to adopt her now that her parents are gone. Becky doesn't respond. She simply lifts a modified Nerf gun, loaded with gasoline, and fires it across the flames. The fire ignites instantly, engulfing Dominic in a wall of fire. Screaming, he charges through the flames, grabs her, and wrestles the key from her hand. Just before he can pull the trigger, Apex returns. Apex tries to reason with him, tells him it's over. But Dominic refuses and shoots Apex down. Becky uses the distraction to escape to the garage, starts up the lawnmower, and charges. The spinning blade slices straight through Dominic, killing him for good. Apex, bleeding out, apologizes to Becky for not protecting her when he could. But Becky doesn't say a word. She just raises a gun and shoots him dead. When it's finally over, Becky stands alone, clutching the key. She stares at, wondering what could possibly be worth all this blood. Moments later, Kayla and Ty find her sitting by the barn, her face blank and cold, as police sirens echo in the distance. We return to the opening scene, Becky in the interrogation room. The officers ask her again what happened that night. She just stares at them and says she doesn't remember. As the cops walk out, one of them mutters that she's terrified of what this little girl might become. And with that chilling thought, the movie ends. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more stories like this, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe and don't go near strange trees at night.